All right, let's get right into it. Today we're talking about something called micro-simplicity. It's a really cool way of thinking that helps you build momentum and, finally get past that feeling of being totally and completely stuck.
You know that feeling, right? Where you're looking at a project and it is just so huge, so intimidating that your brain just freezes. You know you should start, but you have no idea where to start. So what happens? You end up doing nothing at all.
Well, here's the good news. That feeling, that paralysis, it's not a character flaw. It doesn't mean you're lazy or undisciplined. It's actually a totally normal biological response that's happening inside your brain. Let's break down why. We're going to call this the overwhelm trap. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's that mental place you get stuck in where the sheer size of what you have to do feels less like a fun challenge and more like a threat.
And that's exactly why it's a trap. Your brain looks at the entire mountain you have to climb and basically just throws its hands up and says, nope, no way. That first tiny step doesn't feel like you're making progress. It feels totally pointless when you see how much is left to do.
So how do we get out of the trap? Well, first, we need to understand the hardware we're working with, our own brain. See, it runs on a very specific and, honestly, a very powerful operating system when it comes to motivation.
And the star of that system is this little chemical right here, dopamine. The easiest way to think about it is like your brain's internal reward system. It's the chemical that gets released that says, hey, you did a thing. That felt good. Let's do that again. It's basically the engine of all motivation.
And it all works in this really elegant, simple loop. First, you take an action. The second you finish it, you get a sense of completion. Boom! Your brain gives you a little hit of dopamine as a reward. And that reward is what gives you the juice, the motivation, to take the next step. It's a cycle that's supposed to fuel itself.
But here's the catch. When a task is gigantic, like write an entire book or clean the whole house, there's no quick finish line. You could work for hours and still feel like you've barely made a dent. And if there's no feeling of completion, there's no dopamine hit. And with no dopamine, well, there's no motivation. The feedback loop is broken before it even starts.
Okay, but what if we could hotwire that system? What if we could deliberately trigger that dopamine loop, even on our biggest, scariest projects? Well, that is exactly what the micro-simplicity method is all about. It's about hacking our own biology to finally work for us instead of against us.
This right here, this is the whole shift in thinking. The old way, the way that gets us stuck, is to stare up at the giant mountain. But the new way, the micro-simplicity way, is to completely ignore the mountain and just find the first, tiniest, easiest to pick up stone at your feet.
So let's define it. Micro-simplicity is really just the art of deconstruction. You take that big, scary thing and you break it down into what we'll call elemental components. These are actions that are so small, so simple, that they're almost ridiculous. They're designed to be so easy that you can't not do them, which guarantees you get that sense of completion and fire up your brain's reward system.
But this isn't just about taking one tiny step. Oh no, this is about using that one tiny step to build something much bigger. A self-powering momentum engine. The perfect way to picture this is with dominoes. Each one of those tiny microtasks is like a single domino. By itself, it's pretty insignificant, right? But its real power isn't in its size. It's in its ability to just tip over and knock down the next one and the next one, creating this incredible chain reaction that feels almost effortless.
So what we're doing is we're rebooting that dopamine loop, but we're doing it on our own terms. You complete one tiny thing, and you get that little dopamine reward. That reward then gives you the energy for the next tiny thing, and you just repeat that. And before you know it, you're not fighting for motivation anymore. You're actually riding a wave of it.
This is so important. Your brain doesn't actually care if you accomplish something huge or something incredibly small. It just knows you completed something. It checks the box. So by creating a really high frequency of these tiny wins, you're training your brain to connect action with reward. And that builds a really powerful habit of just making progress. Okay, so that's the theory. Let's make this real. How can you actually put this into practice? Like right now, as soon as you're done with this. Let's use a classic, universally dreaded task. Cleaning a truly disastrous kitchen. You know the scene. The sink is overflowing, there's stuff all over the counters, just looking at it makes you tired. This is a perfect overwhelm trap. So using micro-simplicity, we forget about the goal of a clean kitchen. We're not allowed to think about that. Instead, we find the elemental components.
Your only goal is to put one single dish in the dishwasher. That's it. Task complete. You get a little dopamine hit. Now, hey, maybe you feel like wiping one small spot on the counter. Done. Another little reward. Or just throwing away one piece of trash. See how easy and non-threatening that is?
And this is the secret that makes the whole thing work. You have to let go of the pressure to finish the project. When your only mission is to complete one laughably small action, all the anxiety just melts away. Starting becomes easy, and more often than not, momentum will take care of the rest for you.
So, to wrap it all up, what do you need to remember? First, feeling overwhelmed is not a moral failing. It's just biology. Second, your brain is literally wired to reward you for small, completed tasks. So use that. Break everything down into its smallest possible parts. And finally, change your focus. Don't worry about finishing, just focus on starting. That's how you build real, lasting momentum.
So I'll leave you with a question to think about. Not one big thing on your to-do list, the one that's been stressing you out. Forget about finishing it. Just ask yourself this. What is the absolute, most ridiculously tiny first step you could possibly take in the next 5 minutes? Go do that one little thing and just see what happens next.